Don't be evil. What is the evil of the AI era? The tech world once embraced Google's motto, "Don't be evil," as a universal moral benchmark for digital progress. Today, amid the global AI race, we face a disquieting question. What does true evil look like in the age of artificial intelligence? It may not lie in rogue algorithms or unregulated code, but in absolutist human morality disguised as the pursuit of AI safety, and man held up as Silicon Valley's AI conscience, Dario Amodei, lays bare this dangerous paradox. Let us retrace Amodei's revered professional legend. A biophysics PhD from Princeton, he cut his teeth on foundational AI research at Baidu, Google Brain, and OpenAI. As a co-architect behind GPT-2 and GPT-3, he clashed fiercely with Sam Altman over unbridled commercialization, convinced OpenAI ignored existential AI risks for profit. In 2020, he led a cohort of safety-focused researchers to launch Anthropic, built on a seemingly flawless moral blueprint, constitutional AI that binds models to ethical rules, an independent long-term safety trust to check corporate power, and equal equity among co-founders to avoid autocratic leadership. To the public, Amodei stood as the uncompromising champion of AI alignment, a figure unafraid to denounce rivals' reckless disregard for humanity's future. Yet behind this shiny moral facade lies a rigid binary worldview that warps the very ethics he claims to uphold. Starting September 2025, Anthropic enacted an unprecedented industry ban. It cut off all cloud services to any enterprise with over 50% Chinese capital, regardless of where the firm was registered, Singapore, the United States, anywhere. The ban was drawn not along national borders or formal export control rules, but purely on capital ownership. At Davos 2026, Amodei doubled down on this hardline stance. He called blocking advanced chips from China one of the most critical moral actions Western tech could take, decrying any relaxation of NVIDIA H200 export limits as a catastrophic, reckless mistake. He drew an inflammatory parallel. Selling high-end semiconductors to China was tantamount to arming North Korea with nuclear weapons. Months later, Anthropic filed accusations alleging 3 Chinese companies stole Claude's proprietary technology to train domestic AI systems. Amodei's logic hinges on a rigid moral partition of the globe. Western democratic nations occupy the side of good, while non-Western systems are inherently evil. This is not a cold cost-benefit calculation of market gains versus regulatory rewards. It is an unnegotiable moral judgment. Pragmatic, profit-driven leaders weigh trade-offs, block a market to secure military contracts, negotiate concessions, adjust policies when economic losses mount. But the moral absolutists like Amodei see no room for compromise. Any gesture that grants technological access to the side he labels evil becomes a betrayal of justice. Blockades, sanctions, public demonization all become righteous acts when carried out in the name of opposing perceived wickedness. This absolute framing of good versus evil is not a new flaw exclusive to Silicon Valley's AI elites. History is littered with its devastating consequences. Medieval religious crusaders justified slaughtering heretics as a sacred duty to eradicate evil. Robespierre's reign of terror framed mass executions as the purification of republican virtue under the banner of justice. McCarthy-era witch hunts branded routine surveillance and blacklisting as patriotic moral defense against ideological enemies. In every case, those who unilaterally anointed themselves arbiters of good claimed moral immunity. Any cruelty inflicted on the designated evil camp was automatically virtuous, requiring no empathy, no restraint, no second thought. Silicon Valley's ideological divides expose the same dangerous pattern of self-appointed moral authority. Take Google co-founder Larry Page's infamous late-night debate with Elon Musk at the 2015 Silicon Valley party. Page envisioned a digital utopia where AI surpasses human intelligence, and the competing forms of intelligence would follow natural survival hierarchies. When Musk warned that super-intelligent AI could annihilate humanity, Page dismissed him as a speciesist, a slur in elite tech circles, implying Musk's loyalty to humankind was unethical. Under Page's twisted reading of "Don't be evil," humans carry inherent flaws and historical violence. If AI achieves greater moral perfection, prioritizing human survival over machine supremacy becomes the true evil. Here, Page single-handedly rewrites the definition of morality, just as Amodai draws an uncrossable moral line separating Western tech from China. The gravest danger of rigid, self-certified moral clarity is not flawed conclusions, it is a refusal to entertain doubt or debate. Moral absolutists do not negotiate definitions of good and evil, they dictate them. Once a group or nation is stamped as irredeemably wicked, every punitive measure becomes logically justified. Trade restrictions, technology blockades, even open confrontation. There is no middle ground, no space for mutual understanding, because yielding any ground is framed as surrender to evil. This explains why ideological conflicts are far harder to resolve than purely economic disputes. Conflicts rooted in competing interests can be negotiated, adjusted, split down the middle. Consider transactional political figures like Donald Trump, whose policies revolve around tangible trade grievances rather than universal moral condemnation of opposing nations. Disagreements remain open to bargaining. Offsetting tariffs and revised terms can bridge divides, but moralized ideological conflict offers no such flexibility. For Amodei, easing chip controls or granting Claude access to Chinese firms is not merely an economic concession, it is a betrayal of the moral mission he believes Anthropic exists to uphold. We must not reject morality or ethical guardrails for AI. On the contrary, AI's immense power demands rigorous, inclusive moral reasoning. What we must vigilantly reject are people who wield absolute moral certainty as a weapon. Every culture, nation, and generation holds distinct frameworks for right and wrong. The values Amodei deems universally virtuous do not resonate equally across the world, just as Page's dismissal of human priority strikes most ordinary people as fundamentally alien. No single individual, corporation, or elite circle holds the sole right to define global morality for all humanity. The most terrifying form of evil never parades under its own name. It marches forward wrapped in the banner of righteousness, carried by people who fully believe every harsh action they take serves the greater good. Those who operate without moral gray areas, who never pause to question their own judgment, who treat compromise as moral failure, these figures pose far greater risks than actors who knowingly cut corners for profit. Self-interested negotiators maintain a baseline of pragmatism and negotiation. Unflinching moral absolutists discard all boundaries in service of their self-proclaimed noble cause. Back to the question hanging over our AI era. What is true evil? It is not flawed algorithms or unregulated technological progress. It is human beings who seize the power to unilaterally label others as evil, then deploy technology, policy, and public condemnation to punish them all while hiding behind the language of AI safety, justice, and universal good. The motto, "Don't be evil," means little if we surrender the power to define evil to unaccountable absolutists. To navigate the AI age wisely, we must step away from rigid black and white moral binaries, embrace nuance, empathy, and cross-cultural dialogue, and guard against the cruelty always committed in the name of doing good. When a person's moral compass leaves no room for reflection, every harm they inflict will feel like a virtue, and that is the quiet, unrecognized evil reshaping the future of artificial intelligence.